The first question would be really just to learn more about you. Like if you could share your role, like title, responsibilities, that would be really interesting.
Sure. So I'm Margaret Sherer. I have about 20 years in tech marketing. I have kind of what I say is two careers sandwiched with an MBA. So I started with Microsoft in the US before moving to the UK for my MBA. And then afterwards was with Google for about 3.5 years before going into entrepreneurship. In that space, I was for a short time at a social video agency, primarily focused on the agency growth, the running of it. Left that about 8 years ago to start my own agency, Chittadina, which we aim to be the one-stop shop for digital marketing. What's happened, in my opinion, is as marketing has become more technical, it's become more siloed. Businesses, marketing teams, and business owners are spending all of their time in agency meetings to do one campaign versus focusing on other parts of the business. So we work primarily with B2B fast growth tech companies to help them do focused and a bit scrappy marketing strategically from the beginning. The last couple years, I've started to also do more fractional CMO work. So that's coming into a fast growth, understand what their business objectives are, what their current marketing problems are, and then designing a strategy to help them streamline and that supports their business goals and quite frankly, focus because there's a lot of distraction in entrepreneurship.
Makes sense. So scrappy but effective marketing. You help with that mostly. That's interesting. When was the last time you had to do that for a business? Could you talk more about that time?
Yeah, so this is what I do. Like my bread and butter is content strategy. It's a part of every single project to some extent. When I'm working with a new client, what I like to do is first understand their sales approach and strategy. And what I do is like we kind of make them brainstorm absolutely every activity that comes up for the sales process and then kind of lay it out as what is on the critical path. And then alongside of that, I'd like to know what are questions come up in sales meetings more than 30% of the time. And my personal feeling is when we first do that audit, we look at what materials would be better helping that sales process that they don't have, as well as what are the questions that come up and can we create organic content that answers those questions. I call that process filling the potholes. So it's usually about 6 months to create whether it's blogs or white papers or infographics to try to create something that really answers it. I think whether or not your end prospect reads it, it does gain trust if after you've had a sales meeting and then in your follow-up email, you say, by the way, you asked that question, here's a blog that answers more about it. Just the fact I think it shows that you've thought about it, you're thinking about the sales process, and it does in fact build trust to say, we've thought about that and why it's important and your questions are important to us. So that's kind of my standard process. And then after we do that, we consider what do we want to be known for and then start to create content buckets and what do we want to do and how do we build it out from there.
It makes sense. What's the most difficult in that process?
The most difficult thing is negotiating the needs of the prospect versus the wants of sales. Sales typically want everything, but it's not necessarily something that's really helpful for the sales process or what the prospect needs. It also takes time getting case studies because case studies are getting that those endorsements are super important and just sign off process for that is notorious. But it's usually trying to reprioritize what we need to answer for the needs of the prospect versus like sales wants everything. Like is it strategic? Is it important?
If you had the magic wand, what would you do or change here?
I would make all of them instantly let me do an automated nurture program. I believe so wholly in email nurture. Every single thing you see says email is the highest ROI. You just don't see these beautiful automated nurtures. It keeps you top of mind, whether or not they open it, you've popped into their inbox. It helps with your sales process. It can quicken your sales process. And no one does it that well. It's not that hard, but no one does it that well. And there's things like HubSpot is 100% made to do really interesting automated programs, but people use it for other parts of it. And I think there's some parts of HubSpot because that tends to be the tool people start with that it's an intimidating tool. Like you still need a specialist to come in and build out the thing elegantly. And that's hard. But I think a lot of the times, because I work the kind of tech I work with, they're very long sales cycles, but for some reason they get uncomfortable with the idea that you have to support that long sales cycle. They take an 18 months roadmap and get that to 16 months. That's a pretty big thing when you did that all through organization.
Yeah, makes sense. Given that you covered all these tools and everything, what do you see is missing in those growth tools or email?
I'll say this with SEO tools specifically, I think that it's too complicated. I think there's a misunderstanding of front end SEO versus back end SEO and who can do that. The front end SEO stuff, like from a content perspective, you're very much in control of, but there's a back end element of your SEO that you need. I have a small client right now and they're just really in the weeds with these little changes like, oh no, it's gone down because I made this adjustment, or this is getting these bits. And I wish that the tool itself was like, you don't have enough traffic to worry about this. You know, this is not enough. You need to be able to, it's not enough traffic to worry about. You need to concentrate on making for this particular client. They have a good set. There's not enough traffic. Just look to the future. You need to start adding new content to it in the right way. Also understanding SEO is a very big, long game.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, not perceived, a problem that is not perceived, I guess.
Mm.
But yeah, those are all the questions we were hoping to ask, unless there's anything else you wanted to share.